All right. Every week I round up kind of three of the best things I've come across this week or things that I've thought about. And sometimes that's a list of materials, could be tools, sometimes kind of a whole kind of room or home that I just think is really well designed. It won't always be like a super new tool or some, high-tech building material or a newly built home. In fact, most of the time it's probably gonna be old, but it's the stuff I'd actually build with or a design thought I'd incorporate into my own home. And so this week, kitchens. Here are three that I think are genuinely very functional kitchens. They have a lot of character, and character is the thing I think that makes a house feel good. And they do that without overcomplicating things. So I'll tell you a bit about how I'd go about finding materials and using some of these design ideas. Let's get going. So let's start with this one. This feels like a beach bungalow. These appliances and materials look like they are relatively new, been installed within the last 5 years, but the space itself, feels like it could be from the 50s or 60s. It's warm, it's simple, nothing fancy or kind of overly decorative. I'm guessing this is in Australia. It feels like very much like an Australian kind of coastal build to me. I'm not sure what this pale wood is, if it's some kind of Tasmanian oak or something. If I were try to kind of replicate this look a little bit, I'd probably use maple, again, a beautiful wood, especially for kind of bright, airy places. And then this stainless countertop. As I've said before, I think stainless countertops are really the best you can get. They're super durable. They look better the more they age. They go with any kind of wood or tile or paint color. And so that's what we used in our home. You can usually find a metal shop in bigger cities that will fabricate countertops for you. So I used a 3/4 inch plywood substrate for my counters. And ideally you want to get the base cabinets in and that plywood substrate on with the cutout for the sink and everything that you need before you get the countertop fabricated. So your dimensions have to be very accurate for steel countertops because there's really no wiggle room. So give the fabricator very precise measurements. Make sure they know if the measurements are outside or inside dimensions, because while the metal is fairly thin, just that little bit of difference between measuring to the inside of it versus the outside of it makes a huge difference. So make sure that that is noted and that they understand that. So I made my plywood substrate, got all my measurements exactly right, and I got the countertop fabricated. We went with a 14 gauge metal, and I believe it was a number 4 brushed finish. And then I went and picked up the counters and installed them just by using a good kind of construction adhesive to glue them down to that plywood. And I think it's one of the best decisions we made on our home. They look as good or better today, 4 or 5 years later, than the day we put them on. And really, if you're going to install them yourself and take that installation cost into account, quartz countertops, stone countertops are very comparably priced to stainless. So give it some thought. And then this light blue isn't a color that I'm really always drawn to, but I think it looks great here, bouncing off that kind of seafoam front door and then the large kind of photograph of that turtle on the wall. It looks great. And then the last two things, that fan. So you don't often see fans directly in kitchens in the States, or I haven't, but they make a ton of sense in a kitchen. Kitchens get hot, there are cooking smells. Having air circulation in the kitchen, I just think is a really great idea. If you're gonna have a fan, that's a good place to put it. And then this fan in particular, just super simple, white, impossible to place, not ornate, not overly complicated, looks great there. And then lastly, just this dainty little white metal truss in the center of the space. That's so great. Also hard to place, could be from the 50s or 60s, or it could be part of a remodel. It's structural, it's sculptural, it creates this pattern and movement, has this industrial feel, but being white, it also feels just really pretty. And you can find metal trusses like these a bunch of places. You can find them in white, or you can get them powder coated to a color that you want. So thinking about making these structural elements thoughtful is a great idea. Okay, this one is definitely old and European. You can tell by the electrical socket there. And we're just kind of seeing a small slice of this kitchen, but it's awesome. I'm not sure what wood this is. It's similar in tone to a cherry, but with kind of less grain. But again, this darker kind of wood paired with the stainless countertops, great pairing. People have been using this combo for a long time for good reason. I love these inset cabinet fronts. So today, you see so many frameless cabinets with concealed European hinges, and they're awesome, is what we've used here. But it's also nice to see this old school, simple inset fronts with the exposed hinges, and those look awesome too. Just a nice reminder that if you use nice wood, those exposed hinges, not complicated, adjustable European hinges, can still look beautiful. And then you can also get this look pretty easily by using a nice laminate. So these ultra matte laminates in solid colors. We use some from a company called Phoenix. Again, ultra matte, solid color, smooth finish, and it looks great. I have no idea what these little glass compartments are. I'm guessing they're kind of for dry goods, but they're just so interesting and such a cool kind of storage idea to have, I assume are removable trays that are glass, so you can kind of see what's in there, and that you can take out, fill up, and place back, or take out and use. And then these little holes by the sink. I'm guessing those are to vent kind of the cabinet under the sink. Cabinets under sinks can get kind of feeling a little damp. So having that little touch of these holes that become a design element, but that are also utilitarian and providing kind of this airflow into there is awesome. All right, lastly, this one is a new build and a little out there, but really interesting. So this one is called the Flat House. I think it's by Practice Architects in the UK, built in 2019. So the first thing you're going to notice are what look like this kind of exposed insulation between the studs. And that is hempcrete, which is basically kind of the woody part of the hemp plant chopped all up with lime. And maybe some other things, but I think those are the main ingredients. I'm not an expert on it, but from what I understand, it becomes this really breathable, kind of hard insulation layer, kind of like a plaster, but with insulation, that can regulate moisture inside. So I believe this is kind of an experimental home built for a hemp farm in the UK that makes these really cool hemp products. I don't know enough about the pros and cons of hempcrete as a building material. I love the idea, though, of having less layers in your house. So usually you have your exterior cladding and then a rain screen and then sometimes exterior insulation, a weather barrier, sheathing, framing, more insulation, and then another layer of kind of a finished material. And so if you could just kind of take out one of these layers and simplify that sequence, that's kind of an awesome thing. It does take a lot of thought though, right? So having that other finished material, drywall or plywood, whatever you're using, to hide the wiring and the plumbing, the ugly framing, is helpful. So I think these panels were made with the hempcrete in them. So sprayed in, let cured, and then kind of put together in pieces. And so I think all of the plumbing and wiring is kind of hidden in a service channel at the bottom. So not an easy route to go, kind of you need to think about it. But I do think it feels really warm and honest and natural. And the stats on, the carbon sequestering of this stuff are really impressive. The colors they've chosen work really well together. The kind of light tree barky feel of the hempcrete, and then the light wood. And then I think these are some laminated kind of wood cabinets and drawers in this really fun, not crazy kind of yellow color. And then I think the countertops and the flooring, it's either a poured concrete or a micro cement. You could get this look with a micro cement, and maybe I think there's a limestone kind of color dry powder mix you could mix with that. If you want more info on micro cement, I have a video that's a bit of a primer on that material. You can check that out. And then the rugs are beautiful. This open shelving, glass case cupboard is great. Again, just feels simple, unfussy, and easy to live in. So what do these three have in common? Mostly they just feel like they're not trying too hard. Maybe that last one is like really trying to hit that green building trend, but if there's one trend I can get behind, it's going to be that one. Each one picks a few kind of honest things: stainless, the wood, the hemp and lime, and just thoughtfully approaches each of those materials and uses them really well. The best kitchens usually have the least going on. They're kind of the simplest forms of those, but everything is just chosen well. None of these are new kind of ideas, new design ideas. Stainless counters, those inset, doors for the cabinets, exposed hinges. Those things have been sorted out and been done for a long, long time for a reason. So that's the short list for this week. If you've come across a kitchen or a tool or a material that you think beyond one of these lists, drop it in the comments. We'll see you next week with another short list.